Hello, welcome guys to the MMC University again. My name is Ernest. I will be able to help you on this next video. Really appreciate that. This is where we're gonna tackle Indiana. We're gonna tackle Indiana for you. So this is chapter 6 in Indiana. So let's go ahead and do that. This is not too long of a chapter, so we should be able to nail it down very quickly. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're gonna start that. Okay, we're gonna start that. This is so before we get started, don't forget, I always say make sure you bring your water, right? Okay. Take breaks as you need to. Pause it, rewind it. If this is the first time you find the in MMC University, um, feel free to subscribe and share the video with someone that's studying, struggling to pass the exam, and you can help them. So this is not a course. Okay, it's not a course. This is just simply um, me doing my best to explain just these things for you, just to know like how this can help you pass your exam. Nothing more than that. Okay, so make sure you study your own material so you can go ahead and do your thing. So let's go ahead. We're gonna get started here with this chapter. This is some key terms that you need to know. Accrued mean to accumulate over time as accrued interest. Wait, accrued interest. Okay. Collateral means something of value, pledge for a payment of a debt. Disclosure is disclosure is to reveal information to help someone make an intelligent or what we call an educated decision. Dividend is the payment of made by a policy. Okay, that's distribution of profit or return of unused fund. Lapse mean policy termination due to non-payment of premium. Non-forfeiture value is benefits in a life insurance policy that the policy owner cannot lose. The policy cannot lose that not giving up. Okay, that's the non-forfeiture value. Solicitation is an attempt to persuade a person to buy an insurance policy. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna get going. You're gonna hear me talking. You may not see me. That's okay, but pay attention. Okay. It's not me to pay attention. It's what I'm saying, and while I'm going there. Yes, I do have an accent. But please, bear with me. We are in this together, so we can do it. Let's get started. Policy and contracts. Policy and contracts. We're gonna talk about that. Backdating, number one. Backdating. What does that mean? Sometimes it is possible to get a lower premium rate by backdating the policy. Okay, and attend. Okay, antedating. Okay, another word they use. Okay, but backdating is an application for an insurance. If the applicant chooses to do this, the policy may be backdated for no more than 6 months before the date of the application or the medical examination, whichever is later. So all premium must be paid from the effective date of the policy. The only allowable reason that that an application may be backdated is to effect a lower premium. So what that's saying is, let's say you find a client and the client gonna turn 20, okay? Or maybe the client already turned 20 about 3 months ago. Now they're gonna charge them the premium based on 20 years old. Let's say if they were 19 years old, it was going to cost them less money. So now what you can do, you can do a back date for 3 months. So they have to pay the 3 months and they will charge them based on 19 for the rest of the policy year or the policy life or the until the policy is endow or mature. So if the person, you can do that all the way to 6 months. So if the person was like 6 months ago, they just turned 20, they can back it for the whole 6 month and they would let them do it and they would pay for the 6 month premium and they would charge them based on 19 years old instead of 20 years old, even though they're 20, but they will assuming like they were 19 when they're getting this policy, but they have to pay all those premium. That's what that means. So if they ask you what the benefits of getting it, why would the client back the policy for lower premium? Policy provision. Remember on chapter 3, if you watch my other videos, if you have a chance, there's chapter 3 on Florida, for example, in that session, you've talked about that. When you talk about policy provision, this is something that's standard. You come up with the policy. You have already learned about provisions and riders, right? I hope you did. So as well as underwriting regulation for life insurance policies. Below is a summary of some provisions. Okay, regulation for Indiana. So you have the right to examine the policy. This is called the right to examine, called it's a free look. So in life insurance policies must offer in a free look provision that is at least 10 days. So if you're going to get a policy in Indiana, you have 10 days to examine that policy. You have 10 days to look at it for free. And you can return it. They will give you all your money back if you don't want it, if you change your mind in 10 days. But the replacement policy, you have 20 days free look. Why they didn't keep them the same? I don't know, man, fam. I don't know. So in order for them to make the exam more appealing, so you have to know replacement free look is 20 days. Regular, 10 days. Incontestability. A policy cannot be contested once it has been enforced for 2 years after the date of the issue, except for non-payment of premium. So incontestable means not able to contest. They cannot, the insurance company cannot say, hey, we made a mistake 2 years ago, we have to make it right. No, it's too late. As long as the person paid their premium, they can come back to say anything. So if you have some question that they didn't answer, they give you the policy, the past 2 years, they cannot go back and say, hey, you know what? Mr. E, you did have a policy with us, but unfortunately, you didn't answer question 2. It's too late. You already passed 2 years. You cannot contest that anymore. You should do your job 2 years ago. Incontestability. So incontestable mean that 2 years they can contest against you, but after 2 years they can't do it. So 2 years, they can go back and check the policy anytime during the 2 years. And if something wrong, they can ask you to fix it. But after the 2 years, they can't do that. Payment of death benefit. If a cash settlement is chosen, okay, a check for the amount of the benefit must be sent to the beneficiary no later than 2 months after the receipt of the proof of death. If a cash settlement is chosen, so the person said, give me my money cash. So after everything they do what they have to do, they have 2 months to send the check to the beneficiary after they receive the proof of death. Interest on a loan. A maximum interest rate on a policy loan is 8% per year. 8% per year. But remember, the only policy that have a policy loan is whole life, or you call cash value. Term policy have no cash value, so therefore there is no loan. Interest on the death benefits. Interest, if the person passes away, there's interest that money also going to earn. That's going to accrue. Do you see the word accrue? Remember? After 30 days from the date of the benefit it's due, the interest rate should be the same as the loan rate. So that's mean the interest would be 8%. Underwriting restriction. There's thing that there's restriction, not things that not cover. So under the state of Indiana, the code of strictly regulates the use of aids acquire immune deficiency syndrome. In HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Sorry about that. Okay, information. Also, HIV information as underwriting criteria by the insurance company. So during the application process, the insurer may require an applicant to submit medical. Okay, they can require them to submit medical tests to determine HIV infection, as long as the test is necessary to provide a fully informed underwriting determination, as long as an insurer obtain the applicant written consent. You cannot just do it, you have to get the consent. And as long as the adverse underwriting decision is made upon positive test result, unless test protocol determined by the commissioner are met. So adverse underwriting determined may apply on based on true positive, ELISA, and Zoom link immunosorbent assay test. I don't know what the heck is that, but whatever that thing is. One positive Western blot test. I know what that is either. Or any other alternative screening or test approved by the commissioner in compliance with the Federal Food and Drug Administration. It tell you what an adverse underwriting determination may be based on. An insurer is responsible for any medical test expenses related to HIV testing. Of course, we pay. If let's say if the company gonna do a test, they pay for the test. The test results are confidential and may not be shared with the applicant or applicant physician. The tests are confidential and may only be shared. Oh, my bad. May only be shared. So the only person that can receive the test result is the applicant and the applicant physician, the insurer underwriting department, and the applicable insurer. Nobody else, not even the agent. This test result may be reported to the MIB as long as the insurer does not report the presence of HIV, but instead that the test results are abnormal. And the insurer provide the test result for multiple non-HIV related diseases or conditions. Limitation or exclusions in coverage cannot be based solely on positive HIV or AIDS or other related condition test result. So again, guys, this is just telling you what restriction that can happen to not only just the insurance company. It's pretty much us also, because you know sometimes you can do a policy for a client and the client didn't get the coverage because whatever the test they did for them, and they might ask you to do you know why? It's not the agent, it's not the producer job. They won't know. Now they will tell you specifically, you as the applicant, tell you what's the reason, but don't take it up on the producer. That's not their job. During the underwriting process, an insurer may ask any medically specific question that are necessary to make an informed underwriting decision. However, the following consider apply. So this is some of the question. This is they can ask you whatever question they want, but question cannot be directed toward determining the applicant's sexual orientation. So remember, no discrimination. It cannot be oriented marital status, living arrangement, occupation, beneficiary designation, or zip code cannot be used as establish the applicant's sexual orientation. So there's a lot of things they cannot use. Question regarding the applicant having HIV are allowed only if they are factual, objective, and designed to establish the existent concern about HIV by seeking testing or counseling from healthcare professionals. Question relating to the applicant having or being diagnosed with a sexually transmitted disease are allowed. Okay? So, no, some question cannot be directed toward the applicant's sexual orientation. Accelerate death benefit. Rule 48 talk about the accelerated death benefits. You know, when you accelerate something, you make it come faster. So pretty much you make the death benefit come faster. It was promulgated to protect individuals who find themselves terminally ill. So this will stipulate who qualify for the benefits and how, as well as policy premium and interest. So the qualifying events for the payment of the accelerated death benefits were described in details in life insurance provision, option and rider chapter. However, therefore, there are some specific regulations that producer must know and adhere to. So even though we talk about the accelerated death benefit in chapter and the policy riders chapter, but there's some additional regulation on that. The insured must have an option of taking the accelerated death benefit in a lump sum. So if they ever have to exercise that, they have to have the option to take it in a lump sum. The insurance company may not place any restriction on how the money should be spent. So if the person terminal ill and they take the money, the insurance company cannot say hi to it. They can spend it however they want. If the policy does not contain a waiver of premium rider with the standard or accelerated death benefit, the company must explain the insured how the premium payment affect keeping the policy in force. So that's another thing. So if it doesn't have waiver premium, where they have to waive the premium, remember the waiver premium is they don't have to make the payment of the premium. But if they don't have that, the insurance company need to inform the client. So since you do the accident death benefit, how you gonna keep paying the premium to keep the policy, the rest of the policy in force? Okay. Let's talk about something different called radical settlement, because you're gonna find people things happen to them. Radical settlement allows someone living with a life-threatening condition to sell an existing policy, okay, and use the money, okay, the proceed when they are most needed before the death. So they will become aviators. So that's the owners of the original insurance policy. So if I was the one, God forbid, I have to sell my policy, I'll be the aviator. Okay. And I need to find a radical settlement company to do it. So usually receive a percentage, what you receive a percentage of the face value. So remember that you're going to receive a percentage of the face value, not higher than the face amount, is a percentage of it. So the new owner continue to maintain premium payment and will eventually collect the entire death benefit. So if I sell my policy to another person, the person will continue to make the payment, and then when I pass away, they will get the full death benefit. In a radical settlement, the owner receives a percentage of the policy face value. Just know that. Catastrophic or life-threatening illness condition means an illness that can reasonably expected a result of death in 36 months or less. So 3 years. That's a life-threatening, 2 years. So radical settlement broker means a person who, on behalf of a violator, which is the original policy owner, for a fee, commission, or other valuable consideration, negotiate radical settlement contract between the violator and one or more radical settlement provider. So, of course, this is you're gonna find somebody that's gonna represent the violator, the client, to make sure they bring those parties together so they can make a deal. One would buy it, the other sell it to them. But they have to use a radical settlement to do that. Radical settlement agent is deemed to represent only a Viaticor settlement provider and may not seek or obtain any compensation from the viator in connection with the Viaticor settlement transaction. So they cannot try to charge more money after. So the commission you receive or the fee, that's enough for that. Any person may act as a person may act as a Viaticor settlement agent or broker only if that person is licensed as an insurance agent and has filed with the commissioner a declaration that contains the following information: a statement that the person intended to act as a Viaticor settlement broker or agent in the state, and a list of a state in which a person has been licensed act as a Viaticor settlement agent broker and current status of a license, and also report the describing the nature and the status of any disciplinary action, regulatory, administrative, civil, or criminal action that is pending um, or has been taken against the person. So they must be disclosed the alternative to a Viaticor settlement, tax consequences, and interruption of certain benefit of the result of the Viaticor transaction, such as Medicaid benefits, and a free look period specification, 30 days from the date of the contract execution, or 15 days from the receipt of the first check. So you got quite a little bit of work here to know, because this could be is there's some testable point. No, if somebody have a life-threatening disease, they can sell the policy using a Viaticor settlement. They become the viator because they own the policy, and the Viaticor settlement agent will receive a commission, or the Viaticor settlement broker also will receive some type of compensation for doing that for that person. So insurance, you can sell it. Okay, let's talk about eligibility. Let's talk about group insurance. Group insurance, it is a group is the following. Is that there's different type of group in the state. You can find an employer group. It's a policy issue on a employer to ensure employee in a workplace. That's an employer group. A debtor group is a policy that issued to a creditor to ensure debtor on the creditors. Okay, don't forget the creditor have insured interest on the debtor, not the other way around. So the debtor will never have insured interest on the creditor, or we call the lender or borrower. Okay, borrower will never have. Borrower and debtor mean the same, and creditor and lender mean the same thing right here. Labor union can also the policy can issue for them as a labor union. This is similar to employee organization to its to ensure its members. Labor union, trusted group, a policy issued to a trust or to one or more trustee to a fund established by two or more employer or labor unions to issue employees or members of of the organization. Association group is a policy issued to an association that must have at least a minimum of 100 members, must have been organized and maintained in good faith and purpose other than that of obtaining insurance, and must have been in business for at least 2 years. And you find a credit union group is another policy that issue for a credit union to ensure its members. Yeah, because I do have a credit union, so I see they offer me insurance. Sometimes they give you $1,000 or $2,000 free life insurance, but if you want to buy more, you can. They also can help you also with car insurance, things like that. So a social group is not a group. It's not a group. Okay, so you know. But before I know, they might talk about that. But you know, all this group, you cannot just create a group just to get insurance. Okay, the group must be exist more than 2 years. Okay, So must have been in business for at least 2 years. Okay, remember that. At least they go have to be for all the person just getting insurance. They cannot just do a group just to get insurance. Know that, please, please, please. Number two, conversion right to individual policy. So sometime when you have a group insurance, most of the state really, you can convert from a group policy to an individual policy without proof of insurability. Know this word, okay, right here, without proof of insurability, and it must be you must do it in 31 days. Okay, you can convert within 31 days, and they should give you like 15 days notice to let you know that you have 15 days left to convert your policy. Okay, and if you let that happen, you didn't do it, additional requirement. You have to prove you're in good health after that. 31 days to convert. That's when you have 31 grace period in a group policy. Regular policy, you have 30 days, but in a group policy, you have 31 days to convert to an individual policy. Converting to an individual policy usually is a whole life policy. Okay. Insurable interest to on an employee. In insurance, insurable interest must exist at the time of the application or at the time you are working there. So, employer who provide life insurance or health insurance, disability insurance, retirement benefit of any employee benefit have insurable interest in the time of the employee. Okay, so if you're not working there, so you're no longer. That's pretty much I would say that could be. An employee consent must be also insured if the employee is providing with written notice of the insurance coverage and does not subject to insurance coverage within 30 days of the receipt. Let's see, an employee may purchase an insurance on an employee whom the employer has insured just yes. They can buy a policy on you as long as they have insured just on you, but they have to let you know in 30 days to let you know they would do that. Okay. Marketing practices, advertising. So, Rule 13, life insurance advertising. It is another disclosure type rule that protect consumer against unfair trade practice. The rule stipulate that the requirement for an oral and written statement made by the company proceed, and the producer to the public. Several important advertising regulations are listed. Producers' oral presentation are considered advertising. So when you're doing a presentation for someone, it's a type of advertising. Applicant must understand that the sole subject of the sale is insurance, is not an investment. So they have to know it's an insurance, not an investment. Insurance policy may not be sold by investment department. Insurance policy may not be sold by the investment department of the company. Okay, and advertising must be make clear that dividend cannot be guaranteed. Yep, cannot be guaranteed dividend. So advertising, there's distributed this. They cannot. They have to do them right. They cannot put false things on it. Illustration isn't a presentation. Illustration is a term used means to is a presentation. Know that it's a presentation of a depiction that includes non-guarantee element of a policy. Okay, non-guarantee of a policy of individual or group policy. Okay, of a period of years. And then a life insurance illustration must be the following. So an illustration is not part of the contract. Please remember that. Distinguish between non-guarantee and projected amount. That's what it does. Illustration is distinguish between guaranteed and projected amount. It's clearly stated that illustration is not part of the contract. Clearly stated that. Remember that. And identity those value are not guaranteed as such. Okay, an agent may only use illustration of the insurer that been approved and may not change them in any way. So you don't make your own illustration. Solicitation. The purpose of life insurance solicitation rule 24 is to protect consumer from unfair solicitation. Okay? The regulation was written to the insurance commissioner to complement the disclosure law unfair competition statute. So they have to be careful. So solicitation. Rule 24 spells out require that prohibition action for companies and producers in order to provide adequate information to consumers regarding life insurance products and the related costs. As defined in Rule 24, cost is the difference between what insured pay and what they get back. So, let me see. As defined in Rule 24, the cost is the difference between what is insured pay and what they get back. So that's the cost. Is cost relative. So it's the difference. So they do a subtraction between what I pay as an insured compared to what they get me back. So the solicitation will require that the buyer's guide and the policy summary provide to the consumer during the application process. So just remember that when you're selling insurance, you got to give them a buyer's guide, and when they'll get that policy, you give them a summary what they buy. So this rule only apply to individual policy. Do not offer to credit insurance, variable products, or annuities. So the solicitation rules only apply to individual policy, not group, not credit life or variable products or annuity. Buyer's guide. A buyer's guide is provide basics information, generic information. Okay, it's just help the client to know the difference. You have to be in a language they can understand. So to explain the buyer's guide is how they should go by choosing the right amount of insurance, what kind of insurance to buy, and so they can comparing the costs of similar policy. Insurer must provide a buyer's guide to all with prospective policy applicant prior accepting the initial premium. So you should give them a buyer's guide before you take the first payment. If the policy contains an unconditional refund provision, at least 10 days free look, the buyer's guide can be delivered with the policy. So if your policy have a 10 days free look, it's okay. If you don't have a buyer's guide, you can sell it. So question, can I sell a policy without a buyer's guide? Absolutely yes, as long as my policy have at least 10 days free look. So they can still look at it for free. If they don't want it, they can return it for a full refund. So therefore, I can sell it and give them the buyer's guide when I deliver the policy. Policy summary. Summary is a written statement that's describing the features and the elements of the policy. So this is very, very important. Okay, right here. That's a policy that's been issued. So you can't get a summary until you buy a policy. It must include, not just until you buy a policy, I apologize, until the policy is issued. So that's when you qualify for the coverage. It must include the name, that's something specific. So a policy summary gives things specific. Buyer's guide gives you things in general term. So that you know the address of the agent, the full name in the home office, the administrative office address of the insurance company. You're going to know the generic name and the basics policy and each rider, if you have any rider on it. The policy summary will also include premium, cash value, dividends, surrender value, and the death benefits. Those are specific things and a figure for specific policy years. So the policy summary must be provided when the policy is delivered. That's the only way. So a buyer's guide provides generic information on the various type of policy, but a policy summary is provide specific information on the policy being issued. So very, very important. So when do they get them? When you deliver the policy. If it is the buyer's guide, when you're doing the application before the initial premium, or if you have 10 days free look when you deliver the policy. Good, you make it happen. Good point. Producer duties. Prior to the beginning of the sales, a producer must inform the applicant of the following. The fact that the person selling an insurance is indeed an insurance producer, the name of the producer and the company he or she represents, and advise the applicant that dividends are not guaranteed. So the producer may not use the term that imply that the producer is not being paid commission and is acting solely as an advisor unless it is true. For example, financial planner, financial consultant. You cannot use this term if that's not what you are. And if you charge for a fee, then you gotta let them know, you can't. So make sure you use the proper term. Life insurance policy costs and comparison method. To help consumer make educated decision purchasing insurance, industry develop a specific method indices that measure the compare actual policy costs. The comparison are usually included in policies and illustration. So the traditional net cost benefits compare the cash value available to the buyers when they're in the policy for 10 to 20 years. Of course, they will show you that in 10, 20 years. Um, Interest adjustable net, they use the surrender cost index, the net payment cost index. Use and disclosure of insurance information. When an insurer plans to seek or use information from investigator, they must first provide the applicant or insured with a written disclosure authorization notice. So replacement. Number 3, replacement. According to the Indiana laws, life insurance replacement rule 61.1 is considered a disclosure required, meaning that it's required the insurance company and the producer to provide adequate information to consumer to help them make educated decision about replacement policy. Any violation of replacement rule is a violation of the unfair competition statutes. So meaning that if you're replacing somebody, insurance company, make sure you give them the right disclosure, make sure it's in their best interest. You don't just do it just for the heck of it. Replacement mean is a transaction that is a new policy is being canceled or being terminated, and you're gonna give them a new one. So either in insurance or in a new purchase annuity, such as an existing insurance or an annuity have been or will be which of the following. So all these things replacement apply. A lapse policy, forfeited, surrendered, or otherwise terminated, replacement will apply. A reissue will a reduction of cash value. Okay, reduce paid up is that's what they're saying. A reduce paid up is a replacement rule. So when we reduce somebody face amount to get a reduced paid up, that replacement will apply. So converted to a reduced paid up insurance, continue extended premium, otherwise reduce in value a non-forfeiture benefit or the policy. All this, if you do a reduced paid up extended term, this is replacement will apply. Amended so as affect either a reduction benefit in the term for the coverage would be otherwise remain in force. So pledge as a collateral whether a single loan on the scheduled borrowing of a period of time, the amount of aggregate exceed 25% of the loan value set forth is a policy summary. Okay. Conservation. Conservation means any attempt by an existing insurer or its producer or a broker to dissuade a current policy owner from replacing an existing insurance or annuity. This does not include such routine administrative procedure or as late payment reminder, late payment offer, or reinstatement offer. So what that means is sometimes a client probably want to cancel a policy, replace a policy, but the insurance go in the back end, try to do a conservation, try to make the client to change their mind not to do the replacement. So, but not because the policy was already lapsed and they give them a late offer. That doesn't apply. It's not late offer doesn't consider conservation. Okay, note that the replacement regulation does not apply to the following. Please know that. Okay, credit life insurance, no replacement apply, but individual or group. It doesn't matter if it was an individual group, credit life. So it doesn't apply. Group life insurance, it does not apply. Life insurance issue as a connection with the pension, profit sharing, or tax sheltered annuity, employee benefit plan, or existing life insurance policy in which contractual changes or conversion privilege is being exercised. Those are not considered to be replacement rule does not apply. But if you're going to replace other things, it will be replacement. Okay. Now, Replacement policy require 20 days free look. Remember that. Look it for free for 20 days. If you don't like it, you can go back and get your old policy back. Okay, existing policy. So the policy is lapsed. This are the replacement or terminated. So replacing insurer, they give you a new policy. Or reissue as a cash value, that's considered replacement. Reduction in cash value, that's also converted to a reduced paid up, extended term, or a term insurance. All this mean there are replacement. So the rule is applied. So there is some duty the insurer. Prior to replace somebody's policy, the producer must take an active role to make sure like they do the right investigation to determine if the replacement will take place. Are they going to replace the policy to get a new one or not? So when a replacement is involved, the producer must be notified and must do the following. Okay, present the applicant a copy of important regarding replacement. You have to let them know the important notice regarding replacement of the insurance that is signed by both the applicant and the producer in a copy of all sales proposal. Obtaining a list of all existing insurance and annuities that been going to be replaced. So to make sure you put them in the contracts, and the new contract say, hey, all those policies going to be replaced, and this is the new policy that's going to happen. Accurately complete the comparative information form. Okay, you have to do a comparative form. Also, leave the original copy of the written printed communication used to the patient with the applicant, and submit the replacing insurance company a copy of replacement notice with the applicant. Okay, Jackson more right quick. Note that making misrepresentations during replacement is considered twisting. Making that is twisting. Okay, 1 second. So, sorry about that, guys. Let's go ahead. We're gonna go back. Note that making misrepresentation during the replacement is considered twisting, because remember, when you're doing twisting is when you're taking one policy to go to another company. Churning, I didn't have a chance to see that in there. Churning means when you're replacing somebody's policy with the same company. Okay, that's churning. You're replacing somebody's policy with the same company, but it's not in the best interest. That's an also illegal act. So you need to know the difference between twisting and churning. Twisting means you're doing an external replacement. Churning means you do an internal replacement. So internal means you're doing it with the same company. So if somebody buy a policy in XYZ company, you replace it with another policy in XYZ company. But somebody do a policy in XYZ company, you replace it with another policy with ABC company, which is totally different. So that's twisting. So the replacing insurance company must do the following. Required from the producer a list of the applicant life insurance or annuity contract must be replaced, and a copy of the replacement notice provide to the applicant, and send each existing insurance company a written communication advising that the proposal of the replacement within 3 working days of the date that the application is received, in replacing the insurance company home regional office a policy summary or ledger statement containing the policy data of the proposed life insurance or annuity must be included. So please, replacement is highly regulated. Make sure if you ever doing the replacement, make sure it's in the best interest of the client. Okay? So as far as that, it just I think pretty good study material here for you. So I hope that's helped you out. So you can go ahead and nail this out. That was the section 2 on the regulation of, watch the other 2 first video on chapter 5, and this is chapter 6. So if you watch them and you take the, practice some question, I think you do pretty good on the exam. So never, don't try to underestimate yourself. You can pass the exam, okay? At the end of the day, guess what? There's only two things that can happen: pass or fail. If you don't make it, guess what? You go back and restudy again, take it again, because you don't want to be the victim of the exam. Make the exam your victim. Don't forget you are watching with Mr. E, again, Ernest, for the MMC University. I hope that's helped. Remember, this is only to help you. This is not your material to study to go pass your exam. This is simply just a little guidance I could give you to help you pass your exam. Let's go ahead, do what we need to do. Give the video a thumbs up as always, right? Give the video a thumbs up, and then like and share. If you know somebody you're gonna be good for them, and share it. Good luck.